we'll give everybody a minute to pop on. I want to thank everyone that's joined so far. We should have some catchy music next time. So according to my clock, we clicked the minute. So I'm going to get us started, and we can catch anybody up that's joining a few minutes late. Thanks everybody for joining. This is the second in our series, our webinar series, which we're hoping have so far been educational, informational, and insightful into the world of security. This particular topic is around the Security Operations Center. And I think what we're going to try to accomplish today is give you an idea of some of the key drivers on what makes a Security Operations Center effective, talk about the kind of demystifying the impact, and even talk a little bit about, when you need it, do you need it, and if you do need a SOC, whether that be based on a compliance requirement or a desire to just know more about what's going on after hours, will help you understand some of the differences between building your own or outsourcing it. And finally, before I introduce our main speaker, was also to let you know that this is going to be one of a series of conversations around SOC that will run separately from the cadence that we've got. Hopefully, everyone's seen this image before, not just on the last webinar, but through your CISOs and through your security advising team. This is really an image we've brought forward to sit down and help organizations understand the breadth of things that should be considered to sit down and make your security program as secure as possible. Today, in red and in the bold, we're really talking about managed SOC SIEM and the things that it does, and I use the word checking off the box in a positive way, how it affects these overall approaches. There's about 28 of them here of different things. Some of them are covered by your security program, like policies and governance and vulnerability testing and all that. But now you're getting into some areas that add additional protection and coverage. So today, SOC SIEM, Advanced Endpoint Protection, DLP, and multi-factor authentication are going to be touched. So with no other delay, I want to introduce you to Jack Stoss. Jack is our principal consultant, but also our SOC manager, has 30 years of experience. I'll let him further introduce himself. But Jack, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I have been at this for a long time. I'll be sharing some use cases, war stories, anonymously, of course, and walking you all through a good bit of what I've learned from the business side of SOC over the last 30 years. So the agenda, as you might imagine, it's vendor-based. We're going to have some scary stats, maybe some discussion on unrealistic budget requests, and by the end of it, we'll see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So where are we? This is fresh off the presses. This survey was just completed, companies of 100 to 10,000 employees. Chris, Audrey, I'm assuming the slides are advancing okay, and everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, of course, number one is cyber attacks. There's about a 50% likelihood that each of us, our organizations, will have a damaging attack every other year. So if you didn't have one last year, fear not, your turn's coming. We're all going to be victims, and many folks have already been breached and just don't know it. I mentioned dwell time in the number one bullet up there. Dwell time is the time in between the initial breach and when an actual damaging exploit occurs. So a few years ago, it was about 180 to 200 days. It's now down to 24 days. Two things. The threat actors are using AI and more advanced technology to make more virulent and effective early strike tools that they're using. That's one reason why it's down from 200 to 24. The other one is the good news, the good guys. We're all doing overall collectively a better job at security operations, whether we have a SOC or not, implementing MDR, EDR, XDR, multi-factor authentication, DLP. These tools previously had been reserved for only the Fortune 500 or the larger organizations, and they're seeing more and more of them bleed down into the 100 to 10,000 employee range. So it's good news, but also means that they can still be hanging around in your network for 3.5 weeks on average before you even realize it. Second one, obviously, privacy and compliance, data privacy and compliance. Um, the the problem that organizations face if they're trying to adhere to ISO or PCI or any one of the other alphabet soup compliances, that it's very difficult to demonstrate that you're compliant. Meaning you can't buy a product. Compliance is a process. So one of the things all of these compliances share, and something that a SOC can help with as we get deeper into this, would be the collection and management of logs for, let's say, 13 months or longer, depending on your industry, and also giving you the ability to review those logs and prove that you've done so. I've underlined demonstrate compliance there for a reason. You can't buy compliance. You have to demonstrate it as evidence. The third most pressing issue is securely enabling remote workforces. And even as many people are returning to office, there's still millions and millions of folks spread around or traveling all the time who are not inside a traditional LAN-WAN architecture. Four, IT talent shortage. Skilled expertise, especially in cybersecurity, is hard to find. And finally, resilience and disaster recovery. I bring this up in the sense of cybersecurity because being able to recover from a damaging attack is probably one of the most important things you can do. So if you want to make a side note, practice your disaster recovery. A ransomware attack is a disaster. An outage is a disaster. A hard drive failure is a disaster. But be ready and practice those things. And I'll share a quick story with you. Had a client, law firm, about 500 people. They had protected their edge very well. They had state-of-the-art this and that. They had CrowdStrike on the endpoints. They decided not to install or monitor their servers, which were a second sub-segmented ring inside their network, and they felt that they weren't exposed to the internet, so they didn't protect them as heavily as they would the workstations. Counterintuitive, I know, but that was their choice. They got a ransomware attack, infected their servers. They were crushed. Everything, every server inside that network ring on that segment was fully encrypted. They recovered in about 20 hours, and no one knew. They didn't lose any data. They didn't lose any customers, and they didn't even, there wasn't anything public that they had to disclose because they were ready for it. So I caution you there. And the other one, being prepared, is to avoid disaster. 80 to 90% of every successful attack, every damaging attack, there is typically a vulnerability that's been exploitable and known on average for longer than 6 months. So just those two things should be good hygiene for everybody as we go through this. So how likely is it that you'll be attacked or that you'll suffer a damaging attack? 47% of organizations, so just about half. The cost for those recoveries at a minimum is around $100,000, and that's the average for a smaller organization. Estimates are that only 10 to 12% of these types of attacks are actually reported to authorities. So if there were, in 2022, there were about 500,000 reported attacks. In 23, there were 800,000. Wouldn't be surprised if the 24 numbers are over 1 million. So there's a lot of activity out there and a lot of activity to be concerned about. When we think about improving things, we want to implement thoughtful changes. So what we have is a business problem here, not just a technology problem. Senior managers outside of IT, they need to value what we do in cybersecurity. And by that, we mean allocate budget. If not, we're witnessing an increase of risk, which could be damaging. One way to help gain internal consensus is to explain that great cybersecurity is a branding opportunity, meaning it's a way to differentiate your company. We all want to know that our data, our employees, our partners, our customers are all safe because we've invested in great cybersecurity. So it's a perception opportunity, a way to shape perception of everyone in your ecosystem. It's not just a line item expense. Upgrade your capabilities. So you should be considering investing in new defense and prevention technologies, improving internal processes through better planning, training, and oversight, and recruiting new cybersecurity staff to bolster internal capacity. So across the board, these are things that we should all do on a regular basis. And as we get deeper into this, the first option would be to consider standing up an internal SOC. So internal SOCs, let's take those three things together: technology, process, and people. So whether you're bringing in new antivirus or EDR, new XDR or SIM, DLP, you can expect to spend 50, 100, 200K in the collective to implement all those just for the technology licensing. Improving internal processes. So cybersecurity awareness training, being formal in your governance, risk, and compliance approach, trying to meet a SOC 2 audit, get certified in any particular compliance framework, implementing HIPAA, NIST, CSF. None of those are free, and they take a lot of policy, thought, and management oversight to implement and to repeat those things in a hygienic way so that you're every day that security and compliance comes first. The most challenging part of this, obviously, is the third one on the screen, recruiting. So if you try to recruit CIS SPs, analysts, and you try to staff for 24/7 coverage, it's not 3 people. It's not even 6 people. A legitimate SOC operation needs a minimum of 10 or 12 people to give you the depth, expertise, and coverage that you would need to operate effectively. That right there is the reason why 70% of organizations of all sizes never even try to stand up their own internal SOC. It's just too expensive and too daunting. Cyber attack cost analysis. Why would you want to do this? The average remediation cost for a major attack for a 1,000 employee company is $4.5 million. I promise some scary stats. These are there. Ransom payments are on average approaching $1 million. So these are things that when they do happen, if you can recover quickly because you've got great backup capabilities, if you avoid the breach to begin with because you've been patching, all to the good. But when it does happen, it can be very expensive. And you need to ask yourselves, can you afford a SOC, or how can you afford not to have a SOC? We already gone through some of the personnel and technology costs, and these factors rolling up could run you individually as an organization anywhere from 1 million to 2 million. At the larger you are, $2 or $3 million. So as you think through planning on this, there's a lot of internal selling that has to happen if you're going to start asking for budget like this. Right? But the good news on a managed SOC approach, what we do for a living also, and many others do as well, you can get pretty much the same results or close to them with a little bit of loss of control at about 10 to 20% of the cost of a DIY SOC. So you can turn on a managed SOC. Most of the challenges, calorie time lapse, expenses of the DIY SOC, all of those are addressed before you start. You can take a crawl, walk, run approach. You can layer in new capabilities over time or start with a more comprehensive plan. You could be up and running in weeks without the headaches of hiring, training, and managing SOC staff. So managed SOC partners will also bring with them proven processes, run books, playbooks, incident response plans, 24/7 expert coverage, and more. All these are baked into managed SOC delivery. The outcomes you can expect, the benefits, right? Continuous monitoring, 24/7, threat detection, prevention, proactive threat hunting, incident response remediation, and compliance, and so on. Even helps with cybersecurity insurance underwriting. Most organizations don't have the staff or the discipline to deliver this on their own. And that's why we talk about managed SOC. Coming up next on the series, and we'll take questions here in just a minute. We've got other webinars scheduled for March 6th, March 20th, April 3rd. And I think there's one also coming in on March 4th that we're going to wedge in here. Happy to take any questions, observations, or comments. If we've got any coming in through chat, Audrey or Chris.
Jack, thank you so much. That was great. I hope everybody got a good view of, what at least the starting point educationally and informationally about the SOC and how that works. As Jack mentioned, we're going to have a follow-up series, so we'll send some dates out for that. And then on the right-hand side, you see some of the upcoming categories and topics that we're going to be doing post this particular session.
And there's also a research handout I'll send over that has all of the stats that were quoted, the surveys, and some additional content that the attendees will have access to right after.
Yep. We went quicker than expected. I don't know if we have any questions that have popped up. I'll take a look and see if there's anything in the chat, see if there's something there that we want to address. I don't see anything at all. Jack, some of the things that have come up in the past when you're looking at, kind of a go, no go, or some of the curiosities that you think will be coming out of this, anything there that you could kind of share with the with the group?
Sure. Yeah, there's really two main drivers. One is the scary statistics. You don't want to become one. Typically, you or someone you know has a serious event, and that will put you into a sort of a let's consider it mode. Quickly, though, the budget numbers, when you start to build an internal SOC, add up, and it can be demoralizing because this is something that could be done, should be done, but it just is out of reach and unaffordable. So that's a driver, the scary side of the equation. And the other one is third-party oversight, regulators, your investors, your supply chain, other folks you do business with, anyone who's participating in your network from a internal or external perspective. You must be able to assure them that you're practicing good cybersecurity hygiene. And typically that involves certifications. And it can also be spurred, Chris, by an imminent audit that might be upcoming. So if there's an old saying that if you have to scramble to get ready for your audit, you've already self-admitted that you're not compliant. You're not compliant as a matter of practice. So an audit should be something that a SIM and a SOC can help you with. But if you have to spend hundreds of hours getting ready for it, you're again admitting that you really weren't compliant to begin with. It's hard to fake it, so you have to do it every day the right way. And I'll come back to that key driver, Chris, for this particular one. So
Okay.
whether it's SOC 2, ISO, HIPAA, PCI, GDPR, there's dozens more. Had a criminal justice information system discussion just yesterday with someone. They all require you to be aware of what's happening on your network. Who logged in? What did they do? Was that authorized? Did you know about it? If it wasn't authorized, did you remediate it? Was it a training issue? Was it a configuration issue? And you need to document all of that. And that's where most organizations fall down. You can't generate a compliance report that's based on log activity and just hand that to an auditor. You have to be able to prove that you reviewed it. For example, who logged in through the VPN during the week of June 3rd that used their privileged credentials. So anybody use administrative access through the VPN for the week of June 3rd. They spot check things like that in an audit. They're not going to look at the entire year. They won't look at every transaction. They just want to see that you're aware of it. So did you review the VPN activity, and did you review all of your privileged access activity that was remote? Those are examples of drivers. So fear of an audit or an upcoming audit, key to it all. But most often, Chris, it's the fear of that damaging attack.
Okay. And then we had another question. What's the best way to approach senior management on the implementation and funding of a SOC investment?
So, we touched on some of it in some of the slides earlier. The numbers can be daunting. So I think the first thing is to understand that you've got to take this conversation outside of a technology purchase, outside of procurement, and really outside of budgeting, and make it an opportunity to rebrand the organization as the safest company in this space, or the safest organization operating here, or we're in the top tier, the top 5%. We have aspirations to be the best, most secure company we can be, and use that to help you drive perception, provide comfort to your customers and supply chain partners. It can help with sales and revenue, acquisition, growing the company, keeping customers. You'd be surprised how many times now with the new oversight coming from all corners, whether it's cyber insurance or regulators, they're making everybody in a supply chain touch left and right and making sure that all their partners are following things like NIST, CSF at a minimum, or maybe 800-171 or CMMC if it's a private company doing business with the federal government. All of those things come into play. So rather than treat them solely as a cost center, you need to have the more strategic conversation, Chris, of approaching it as a way to improve your brand, to embellish the perception of what you are as a company.
Yeah, I'm going to give a slight infomercial. These are not intended to be that, but to also answer some of the questions, I think one of the things that you should look for if you are looking to sit down and have it co-managed or managed outside is an organization that provides a platform for you to bring over what your investments your pre-investments already have been. Meaning if you've already invested in CrowdStrike or SentinelOne or Duo or whatever, try to find an organization that would allow you to bring those over and monitor your items as you grow and add others rather than having to do a rip and replace. And then you're struggling with that decision. When do we do it? Can we afford to do it? We've already invested in this. We've got 18 months left on the contract, whatever it is. I wouldn't say struggle with that, but we reimagined what we were doing about 18 months ago to change over to a platform that allows us to do just that, so that the transition period for those customers that want to do it can bring what they have or can start small and expand once they get comfortable with the concept. And also that co-managed piece, if there is an existing SOC, having an organization that can do after hours, weekend support, holidays, since your team might only be on, daylight hours, kind of, 8 to 8 or something like that, Monday through Friday, then you have just the ancillary time covered as well.
Chris, you're 100% right on that. If you've got technology for cybersecurity in place, you've got legitimate tools, you're in the middle of subscriptions, that money is sunk cost, you can't get out of it, you shouldn't have to. So the idea that we can absorb what you have, help you manage it, and monitor it for you, and make it part of the whole SOC incident response runbook and playbook exercise without you having to jettison any technology investments that you currently have made.
Yep. Okay. If there's no other questions, we will definitely get a clean recording out. I sent a note in chat. Apparently the previous link didn't work for some folks, so we'll send a clean link out for the original one, which was the benefits of a secure browser. We'll make sure that this one is a clean link for everybody to listen to, and then we'll also send out dates on the other SOC related topics as kind of a mini series around this. Jack, do you remember what the topics are coming up that everyone would be able to attend?
Yeah, we're going to do a DLP as a service. We're going to do a deeper dive into SIM as a service and a deeper dive into MDR as a service, all part of the SOC delivery platform. And also, as a quick reminder, there will, in addition to what Chris just mentioned, we are sending a research handout for everybody who attended today that has a bunch of background on the topics we discussed during the webinar. So thank you all.
Yep. Okay. If anybody thinks of something afterwards, you can definitely send that inside to me directly or to the invite, and we'll get that out to you as well. But I really want to thank everybody for attending, and we look forward to the next one together. Thank you.